Well, with more on the Transit Association's recommendations, we're now joined by Marco D'Angelo. He is the president and the CEO of the Canadian Urban Transit Association. Mr. D'Angelo, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
So, you know, the timing of your media event certainly has resonance. We've just seen a number of really horrific attacks on transit systems across this country. Before we actually get to the recommendations themselves, talk to me about what you've heard about the impact of these kinds of attacks from transit workers, but also from transit users.
Well, I mean, at the beginning of the pandemic, we were able to secure funding to ensure that we had a high level of service so that Canada's essential workers could get to their jobs during the pandemic. Since that is subsiding, ridership began to increase. And right now we're at about 70 to 75% of ridership on average returning across Canada. What we don't want to have is fear of taking transit being an impediment for folks returning to transit and taking our services so they can get around their cities.
It's what you don't want to have happen, but do you sense that's already happening right now?
Well, it's undeniable. In many large cities, there have been incidents of violence in transit, and that's why our association worked with 7 large systems across Canada to develop a series of recommendations that we think are actionable and doable and will make our transit systems more secure for folks.
Okay, now the recommendations, they involve action on the municipal level, on the provincial level, on the federal level. Obviously, you're making an appeal to Ottawa today, so let's begin there. In terms of the federal ask, one of them has to do with a criminal code redefinition. Can you talk to us about that?
Sure. Our association, maybe about a decade ago almost, we started a campaign to amend Section 269 of the Criminal Code. And so at that time, transit operators were included as a protected group, so when it comes to sentencing, that would be considered a factor when a judge would determine the sentence for assault. And what we're asking for today is to have that definition broadened to include all of those who work in transit, because it goes beyond operators. We've got maintenance and supervisors and cleaners and customer service people, and we need to make sure that they are protected. We have to provide a safe workplace for our employees across the country.
Okay, so one has to do with the criminal code adjustment, but you know, among the other recommendations, I guess a couple of them that goes to the provinces really, or it seems just on the surface, is the fact that you note that transit is also, beyond getting people from A to B, being used by others as a way to solve homelessness for some, as a place of refuge for those who are experiencing mental health crisis, mental health issues. Where does the federal government fit into that piece for you?
Well, I think that the federal government certainly can lend support, as well as the provinces, in making sure that there's 24-hour access for those that are experiencing mental health issues or addiction issues. We don't think that transit is the right place for people to spend their nights, but we know that it has been a reality in cities, and it's been exacerbated in recent months. And we feel that the provinces can step up to help to ensure that our transit facilities are safe, and to connect those people with housing or with lodging for overnight purposes. Also during heat waves to heating to cooling centers, and during, we had some cold snaps this winter as well, that there's a role for provinces to play to help to fund ways to house those that need a place to sleep. And all too often they have found public transit to be that realm, and our recommendations, I think, begin to address that issue.
And that goes to safety for you?
Indeed, we have to have safety for our riders, safety for our customers. It's our duty, and we've been very proud of our record over these many years. But we have a unique challenge in different cities with illegal drug use, with crimes of assault that are taking place, and we have a mental health system across Canada that doesn't seem to be able to help enough And transit is a point of last resort for too many people, and we need to address that.
Now, a part of this also goes towards security, more empowerment for transit constables. But you're also calling for a meeting of provincial, federal, and municipal leaders to come together to actually tackle this. How far along is that request? What type of response have you had so far?
Well, I mean, we've worked with those cities that are most affected by the outbreak of violence during the last couple of months. But also, we've reached out to Labor and happy to have their support on these recommendations. We've met with mayors, and now we are going to come to the table, and we invite our federal and provincial transportation ministerial counterparts to meet with us to help us to find actionable, affordable, and solutions that can happen in the near term so that people can get around their communities without fear for their personal safety.
And what type of timeline do you hope accomplishes this?
Well, I mean, we've got the report out today. We know, not all 27 recommendations can happen overnight, but it's definitely been a conversation starter, and we're very interested in following up on these recommendations with the provinces and with the federal government on them.
Marco D'Angelo, thank you very much for the time.
Okay, thank you very much.